Hello, everyone. So, the case that I am going to be telling you about today, I feel like most people do know about. I feel like it's fairly popular on YouTube, true crime shows. I just feel like a lot of people know about it, and for a good reason. It's incredibly sad, it's also incredibly chilling, and it kind of feels like you have a feeling you know what happened. Um, but unfortunately, it's technically unsolved. So, as I'm telling you this story, please keep in mind that this is very summed up. There's a lot of information in this case. There's a lot of information. But if you are really looking for a deep dive in this case, I would suggest Danielle Hallen. I would suggest Kendall Ray. Just off the top of my head that I know have done it. They do really great in-depth videos if you really want like full coverage, like full details. Definitely check them out below. This is, like I said, a much more summed up version, with still a lot of detail, but definitely not as much as they have in theirs. So this is definitely going to be like a shorter version of that. So the case that we're talking about today is that of Tamla Horsford. I'm sorry if I pronounced her name wrong, uh, but that is who I'm speaking about today. Um, Personally, this case, like, it has always lived rent free in my head. Like, there's just something about this case that just gives me the chills. It makes me sick to my stomach. When I start reading you, like, all the details and stuff, it's just so sad. She seems like such a sweet woman, and something really, really bad happened. So, all the links that I use for research will be down below, and let's go ahead and get into it. So, Tamla was often called a supermom by those who knew her. She was the mom who was always present at her kids' games, cheering them on with science and a megaphone. So, she was really into just being a mom. Like, that is her thing. And she was just loved by everybody. So, on November 3rd, 2018, she was invited to a grown up sleepover by her friend Jean Myers, whose son was on the same football team as her son's. And it was Jean's 45th birthday, and she basically just wanted to have a group of mom friends over, and they would all be in their pajamas, and they were going to watch the LSU versus Alabama football game. So there were 8 women at the party and 2 men. Jean's boyfriend, Jose Barrera, and Tom Smith, who was one of the other women's husbands, they were also in attendance. So let's get into the night of the event. So the first friend to arrive was Nicole, and she came at 4 p.m. because she wanted to help decorate. Everyone else was basically scheduled to arrive around 7 p.m. or later because the game's kickoff was happening at 8 p.m. Tamla arrived close to 8:30, so she was a little bit later than expected, and that's because she was at home prepping a meal for her family to have while she was gone. According to witness testaments or statements, all of the women brought different alcohol for the birthday girl, so Jean. And when Tamla arrived, she had brought tequila from Mexico. Jean would decline to have some because she didn't like tequila, and one guest recalls uh, Tamla encouraging the other women to try it because, quote, it was the good stuff. But they all declined, preferring to drink other liquor instead. And it just feels really petty because she brought it for Jane. She just wanted them to have a good night, and they're basically just kind of like snubbing her and her alcohol. So around 1 a.m., most of the party was slowing down. People were getting ready to either go back to their own homes or they were settling in to go to bed at Jean's house. So she had made plans to stay in one of Jean's rooms, but Tamla wasn't quite ready to settle down. She was already so busy that she just wanted to enjoy her night a little bit longer. So there was one partygoer that left at 1:47 a.m. according to the security system on the front door. So Jean Myers, she has a security system on the front door that's hooked up to your phone, and like whenever somebody opens the door, you get the notification like this door opened at this time, this door opened at that time, those kind of things. That is what I'm referring to. So, according to the security system on the front door. A few minutes after that, there is a record of the back door being opened at 1:49 a.m. This is the door that Tamla had been using to access the balcony to smoke throughout the evening, and at 1:50 it was closed. Then at 1:57 a.m. it opens again with no record of it being closed again. And I will have like a screenshot, like a photo of a screenshot of all like the times and stuff. So, Jean's aunt. She was sleeping on the basement level. She woke up around 8:30 a.m. And her statement, she says that she was about to make herself a pot of coffee in her room when she saw Tamla outside. The aunt said she knelt down to pray and looked outside and saw um, the onesie that Tamla had been wearing. It was Dalmatians. It had Dalmatians on it, and she was like, "Oh my god!" She, however, didn't open the door or yell out. Instead, she went upstairs to get her niece, so Jean. Jose and Jean got dressed, went downstairs, and called 911 just before 9 a.m. So, according to Jean and Jose's statements, they say they discovered Tamla's body with her arms by her side, but based on police reports, Tamla's right arm was to the side. However, Jean described finding the body at that first moment, and she says both arms were down by her side, and that's why I know it's those other two women that are saying it, because they said they spoke to the detectives, and her arm was up here in a position to brace herself. It was not because that image is burned in my head, because the best way I could phrase it, it almost looked like she face planted, because I'm like, I'd never imagined someone landing with like her toes almost pointed and her hands perfectly by her side. Like, and all my stuff is based on Law and Order and CSI, so it's not a good reference point, but I was just shocked at how she was lying. End quote. When the police arrived at the scene, they asked all the people that were there at the party to go back to the house. So they start taking measurements of the balcony and the distance from the railing to the ground, and they conclude the fall would have been about 17 feet and 11 inches. Law enforcement also said or noted that Tamla's right hand was positioned at a 10 o'clock or a 40-degree angle, a detail that contradicts Jean and Jose's statements. Police interviewed all the 10 witnesses present, who all concurred that Tamla was happy and she was the life of the party. There were no conflicts, fights, or arguments among the women, and that everyone had been in good spirits. Jose also said that there was no sad or angry drunks. When the police asked Jean if everyone was happy, she said, "No, LSU lost." Yeah, that's just what. No, LSU lost. Like, I don't. That just feels like a really weird comment to make when you're being asked about your friend's death on your property. Maybe that's just me. So, Forsyth County Sheriff's they sent Tamla's body to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations for an autopsy, and the report confirmed the likely scenario and theory that she fell from the balcony. So the autopsy report also shows that Tamla had severe injuries of the head, neck, and torso, making note of superficial abrasions on her forehead, above her left eye, the bridge of her nose, her right temple, and chin. She had a fractured vertebrae, her right wrist was dislocated, and a laceration was present on her heart. Her toxicology report showed a blood alcohol level of 0.24, which is basically 3 times over the legal limit. So she was very drunk. There was also traces of THC and Xanax in her system. So her family believes that there is more to the story, and they really want to have the case re-examined. So her case would actually get a lot of attention because a lot of celebrities would talk about it. It went everywhere on social media. And people found it very strange that she just fell off a balcony and died. And when the case and the details started coming out, people realized that the police really did a really shit job, which is not really a surprise, but it is sad. Also, people were, kind of saying, she's the only black attendee at this party, um, in Georgia. Kind of weird. So, going with the idea that her death was in fact an accident and not foul play, let's just, go there. The crime scene had not been preserved, potential evidence was contaminated, and the witnesses being interviewed that we just, went over, they were not immediately interviewed. So, when her body was sent for autopsy, only a handful of autopsy photos were actually taken by the medical examiner. So, also, people really kind of focused on Jose Barrera. And why would they do that? Because at the time of her death, Jose was employed by the Solicitor General's offices as a pretrial officer for the Forsyth County court system. Yeah. But guess what? He was actually fired from his position in December of 2018 after he was found to have looked up information relating to this case while on the job. A little weird. So you might be thinking, okay, earlier you brought up she was the only black attendee, it's Georgia, mostly white. Well, Forsyth County has always had racial tension. In 1912, every one of the town's more than 1,000 black residents were driven out, and Forsyth County has remained primarily white to this day. So, incredibly racist. And the sheriff at the time of her death, Ron Freeman, has actually faced allegations of racism and nepotism. And, the family was really pushing to have this case reopened or relooked at. It wasn't until that there was a petition on change.org that gained more than 600,000 signatures that Ron Freeman would finally ask the GBI to reopen the case in July 2020. However, in May 2021, Forsyth County District Attorney Penny Penn, what a fucking name, Penny Penn, announced that the GBI had concluded their inquiry and there would not be charges filed in Tamla's death. So the GBI largely sided with Forsyth County investigators and concluded that her death had been caused by an accidental fall from the balcony. But there's still a little bit more going on. So you know how we were talking about whether or not her arm had been moved? Well, yeah, it was. So let's just say the statements from Jose and Jean, they say that she had been found with both arms at her sides. So did someone move her left arm or go check for vitals? Apparently, Jose did in fact move her arm and checked for a pulse, and they said that they had not touched her. Kind of weird. But in an interview with GBI Special Agent Derek Glasgow, Jose denied moving her arm, and when the GBI confronted him with this report, he called it bullshit. He denied ever saying that he'd moved her arm and insisted that he never moved the arm. And there is no way I checked for a pulse. That is a direct quote from him in his interview with Glasgow. So this next part is actually absolutely horrid, and I'm going to read it directly from the article. The article will be linked down below. So the GBI report also reveals the new details of concerns relating to the lead investigator from Forsyth County, Mike Christian. In October 2020, he resigned from the FCSO amid an internal affairs investigation into allegations that Christian sent multiple women with whom he was having extramarital affairs confidential information about the cases, including Tamla's case. And the GBI actually spoke to two of the women who claimed to have been sent details and even photos of this case. And this man, he exclusively referred to Tamla as, quote, porch lady. Yeah, he can't call her by her name. He called her porch lady. And those photos, he sent photos of her body at the crime scene. He sent photos of her toxicology report. He, the girls were basically just saying like he was obsessed with the case, to the point of having panic attacks about it. And according to his ex-girlfriend, Christian told her he believed that the death was an accident, but doubted that she fell from the balcony based on her injuries. This next part is extremely disgusting. So there are screenshots of some Snapchat messages that Christian sent to his girlfriends, and these were also obtained by the GBI. And the messages, sent the morning of November 4th, he appears to joke about notifying Tamla's husband of her death. And he says, quote, "Hello, sir. I know we've never met, but I'm here to tell you that your wife and the mother of your 6 children is dead. Oh, yes, I am happy to report that she was really, really drunk. Trip landed face down in the backyard, and I know you have fun memories. Enjoy corralling these 6 boys who are now going apeshit." End quote. What the fuck? In a message from November 19th, Christian types, quote, "Greetings from racist cracker bastard, murder covering up land. How are you?" And then continues, "It's a nice rainy day for digging shallow graves by the roadside." Um, and in this context, so Tamla's family's lawyer, Ralph Fernandez, he believes Graves is a reference to Michelle Graves, a friend of Tamla's who's been particularly critical of the investigation. So he's just making jokes about her people now. So when he was interviewed by the GBI about these messages, he admitted to sending them, but he said that they were just sarcasm and just in bad taste. And while he admitted to sending those Snapchats, he denied having sent photos of the crime scene or anything like that. So I'm going to read this part also directly off this article. The GBI investigation appears to have left other loose ends. In an interview with investigators, Tamla's husband's best friend, Stephen Reynolds, articulated concerns that the death may have been sexually motivated. He claimed that 2 of the couples present the night she died were swingers. He told the GBI that his first thought was that she died after someone tried to initiate something with her sexually. And this doesn't appear to come up anywhere else in the investigation, including in interviews with the 2 couples he implicated. Another question that the GBI would leave unanswered was the origin of the Xanax found in her system. So the toxicology report was the subject of much focus since the results seemed to confirm that she fell accidentally while intoxicated. Like we said, it was almost 3 times the legal driving limit, and that seems pretty explainable because she had a bottle of tequila that she had brought with her. She also tested positive for THC, like I said, and there was a baggie of marijuana found in her purse. And witnesses confirmed seeing her take shots and smoke marijuana the night of the party, but she also tested positive for having Xanax in her system. And it was a small amount, but it showed that she had taken it sometime before she died. Alcohol and Xanax are both depressants, and mixing the 2 can result in oversedation and the slowing of heart rate, breathing, motor skills, speech, and reflexes. This can lead to cardiac arrest, respiratory depression, and death. So, it's not clear when she took the Xanax or how she got it. Party attendees, they denied having any knowledge of her even taking the Xanax or being given it. And even though that they were denying it, there was one person that had a Xanax prescription, according to police reports. So, the woman they chose not to name, she denied having shared Xanax with anyone, but the investigation turned up text messages that suggested that that wasn't true, and that she in fact shared Xanax with a woman from the party. So, in a message sent November 4th, the morning after Tamla's death, another friend from the party texted her, quote, "I hate to ask, but can I please get more meds? It really helped me," end quote. The woman with the prescription responded in the affirmative, and they coordinated where to meet up and do the exchange. When confronted with this evidence, the woman confirmed that she'd given her friend a small amount of Xanax the morning after Tamla's death. But she says that she did not give Tamla Xanax the night she died, and she wouldn't have, since she wasn't that close with Tamla, and she knew that she had been drinking. So those are many of the loose ends, and the really shitty job that the police did in Tamla's case. So you can see where they could have done much better at their job. I just think that the officers and this were so disgusting, sending photos and making jokes. It's just nasty, all around disgusting. And it feels really obvious that something happened. Someone there did something. And while it could have been an accident, she was incredibly drunk. She could have fallen off the balcony, sure. Um, Especially with 3 times the limit in her system. Yeah, sure, absolutely. She could have fallen off the balcony, but she doesn't seem incredibly irresponsible. Like she would take Xanax with tequila. I kind of feel like maybe someone drugged her. Maybe someone pushed her off the balcony. I don't know. I don't really think it was an accident. I 100% believe that someone there did something, whether or not it was the swinger thing, like that friend said, or there was a fight or whatever. Um, I don't know. I just don't completely feel like it was an accident. I do feel like someone else had a hand in it, and that everyone there just covered up for each other. That is 100% what I believe. And I think it's incredibly disturbing that this was just such a shitty job. The police did such a shitty job on this. But that is where I'm going to leave this. Like I said, Danielle Hallen and Kendall Ray, they have such in-depth videos on this case. Definitely go check them out. But what do you guys think? Do you think it was someone at the party? Do you think it could have been an accident? And what do you think about the police work in this case? Like, let me know your thoughts down below. I will see you guys very soon. And thank you so much for listening to Tamla's story. I really hope that she eventually gets justice. Because I just feel like there's more to the story. And there's a lot of unanswered questions. So, thank you so much for listening to our story. And I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys.